Fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Lunchtime Learnings. I'm excited yet again to have Spencer Lawrence from Paramount Properties joining again for more gold. Absolutely love speaking to Spencer. He adds so much value. In my humble opinion, he is the best letting agent in the UK. I'm blushing. I hope he's not blushing. That he is exceptional. We were competitors for 20 years, and we were just talking off air how nice it is to be able to collaborate and talk as much as we are and how much we've learned, which is absolutely fantastic. But we're going to try and do something a little different today. I mean, Spencer and Paramount manage 1,500 properties across London, which is exceptional. I know Spencer is looking to make sure that's 5,000, knowing Spencer by the end of this year, but I know he's got a 5-year plan to do that. Spencer's got an incredible team, incredible systems and processes. And we're now joined by Asad. Thanks very much for joining us, Asad. Can you just tell me whether you can hear loud and clear? That would be great. And please give Spencer some likes, some shares, some hugs, some kisses. That'd be amazing as well. So, Spencer, thank you again for your time. I'm really grateful. I'm starting an agency today. It's going to be Spencer Lawrence Letting Agency. And I'm just going to be doing lettings. What do I need to do to get my name out there? And what would you be doing? You know, knowing what you know now. And obviously, you know loads.
I think before you get anywhere near that office opening, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done. A lot of, particularly in the rental industry, there's a lot of compliance you need to be au fait with. You need to know your territory and have a deep understanding of the area you're trying to work within. Community, especially in the lettings world, is a huge part, I believe, of a successful business these days. So if you are not entrenched in your area, I think you're going to struggle, because the community is one of the best ways to get your name and get yourself embedded in, that group of people. And there's lots of different ways of doing that, from, the school gates to food banks to local, kids charities and organizations, and different ways of opening doors. But actually, to love your area is so important. So the first thing, the absolute prerequisite is you need to know the area that you're wanting to work in. If you know the area, then you can talk passionately about that area that you love, and the idiosyncrasies of that area. There's going to be pluses and minuses, pros and cons. You've got to talk to the people who think they're all pros, because the cons are going to go and live somewhere else. You need to be aware of, the nice restaurant and the local sushi round the way and the great bar and all these different things. So the area knowledge and then market knowledge are things that you should be aware of. Where do you start with that? I think really training is imperative. And I think if you open your door right now without any knowledge, I can't see it working. I'm actually dealing with someone up in Middlesbrough at the moment. I'm helping him set up his business, and his link in with the area is, number one, he loves Middlesbrough, adores it. It's fantastic. It's part of his DNA, very much so. He lives and breathes it. But on top of that, his father's got a building firm. He's a qualified accountant. And the way he's gone about it is he has gone to all of the people that his father has worked on their properties in the last few years and started to have open dialogues about where they're at, whether that be valuations for sales, for lettings, buy-to-let opportunities, asset management, painting that picture, through numbers and projections, and also with the backing of, the maintenance crew. That's one way that he's decided to do it. I mean, quite frankly, I thought about this when you mentioned it yesterday. I don't think I'd be brave enough to start from scratch without any knowledge of the industry. I just think it's a bridge too far. I think you're asking too much of yourself. You would need to give 100% of your time to have success. Obviously, there's different like AdWords and Facebook groups and all these different things that you can go into. But at the end of the day, you need to be trained and coached really well. So I personally would be looking to go for you can go up the independent route like us, or there's, the corporate route you can go up. So what suits you as an individual? And I think you learn, you cut your cloth there for a few years before you decide to move on and start a business yourself in lettings. I think it's too much of an ask for, certainly for me. I mean, maybe there's others that are braver and better that could start from scratch and just get going. But I would certainly want to learn from the best in the industry. And while that was going on, I want to be watching what other companies do, who I admire, why I admire them, what their values are, what their culture's like, their approach to technology, their presentation of properties, what their website looks like. You can go up the sort of estate agency molded route, or you can try and buck the trend and do something yourself. So I think, the considered approach should be, where do you feel there's potentially a gap in the market in the area that you want to work in? And actually the biggest gap is often the link between rentals, maintenance and refurbishment, because it should be a closed circle, but in many instances, that's not the case. We're renting properties and potentially managing them, but then we're outsourcing that maintenance work and the refurbishment work. And that's where I see the opportunity lies for many existing letting agents right now, but certainly for ones that are, thinking about starting up.
Okay, so I want to come back to that, because I know obviously you set up a very successful maintenance department and refurbishment department, and that's been of added value to your business. Just coming back to what you mentioned, you said you would success these clues, and there's a lot of people in the industry that you would go and see. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you aside, who's exceptional, what other people listening or watching this on the letting side of the business, who should they be looking up? Who should they be following? What businesses, what companies?
There's this dude here, Stephen Brown.
Spencer Lawrence.
Stephen Brown. No, well, I'm pointing at you because I can only see you on my screen. Thankfully, I can't see myself. So, again, it really depends on if you want to go up the independent or the other route, which is, the corporate world. And again, look at those businesses that you admire in your area. I mean, for us, Assad at Location. We've had Charlie in from Anthony Pepe recently. Christian Byfield at Base Properties is someone that we admire because of his approach to agency is so different. And actually, he's gone up the PropTech pathway as well. So he's actually solving real day-to-day issues for agents, so he can sit on both sides of the fence. Obviously, Peter Knight, Property Academy, I can only say firsthand, Peter's been an absolute game changer for me and for the business as a byproduct. The Future Leaders Program, there's several people within the business at Paramount who are on that. And I think if you're looking further afield, I mean, Josh Fegan for me is my mentor and, a hero of mine, there's no doubt. But I think there's so much out there now, like Rightmove are doing brilliant webinars on a regular basis. You should read as much as you possibly can, following, Chris Watkin, who's linked in with so many different agents and obviously always tries to come in at things from different angles, always sort of questioning an approach. Is there another way of doing things? And I love that. Outside of England, there's Ricky Purdy, who we're very close with. And again, he set up a fantastic business that's very much based with a community at heart. So they're the go-to people on so many different levels, not just property. And that makes total sense to me, because if transaction levels are low, what happens in the middle? What happens in that gap? Well, actually, if you're entrenched with your community, guess what? They're only going to come back to one company at the end of their, cycle, whether that be 2 years on a 1-bedroom or 8 years, 10 years on a 3 or 4-bedroom house, whatever it might be. I think you need to be an avid reader as well. You need to challenge yourself and, read books that you don't necessarily agree with. But that's the way, for me anyway, that's where the best learning has happened. And, that looking at an avid learner who is willing to challenge themselves and accept that change is inevitable. So you need to change yourself and the way you approach things, but also your team needs to be aware that change is potentially around the corner. So training your team and coaching your team, and for them to accept change and expect change, because it's been a bit of a roller coaster the last few months, hasn't it, in terms of how much has changed in this industry, and largely for the better. It's a fast forward situation. So I think this is the time to really embrace it and look at different ways that you can strategize for early part of 2021 to make sure that it's the best possible year for you and your team.
Okay, brilliant. So just a few people that come and said hello. So hi Asad, hi Tom, hi Emma, hi Sarah, hi Dawn. Thanks very much for joining us. Really grateful. So God, there's so many things to unpick here. Let's go back. So I've got my market knowledge. I've embedded myself in the community. I totally understand the lettings compliance, but ultimately I need landlords. Hi Michelle, hi Luke, thanks for joining us. It's calling you real estate royalty, lovely. Where am I going to get? So you mentioned the gentleman in Middlesbrough. Obviously, he's got some help. His father's been in the business, so building. So there's some contacts there. What's the easiest way to get landlords? It's got to be an easy way, hasn't there?
Well, it's $1 million question. I'm not sure there's an easy way to get landlords. It's a sliding door scenario. There's a lot of dissatisfied landlords out there, that's for sure. And I think if you have a compelling story and a way to move the existing landlord with dissatisfaction over to your company with the little or no fuss, that's the best way to do it. So, you've got to dip your toe in the water at the end of the day. So, First Direct, for me, they came up with a very simple ad, which is move everything over to us. Within 24 hours, it will all be done. Standing orders, direct debits. You have access to us 24/7. And after 24 hours, after you signed on the dotted line, we're going to put £100 in your account just to say thank you. Now, that to me is just nice and simple. So we're working on ways of accelerating the dissatisfied landlords, of which there are many, to come over to a much more personalized, tailor-made service. Because if we're starting with a one-man band, the one thing that you do have on your hands right there is time. So you can just give impeccable service. And service, it will be a relatively easy win, because the reason why most landlords are dissatisfied is because of lack of communication and cost expenditure. They're the two that we hear about. And we ask the question, like, how long have you been dissatisfied for? And sometimes it's 2 years. Like, why didn't you move? Well, they didn't move because they thought it was going to be more painful. I've heard it, better the devil you know. So how can you fast track that process? What can you do? So we've got this campaign going, have done for a few months, which is actually, this is all you need to give us in order for us to take over the management of your property. And this is what it's going to look like. And what we try to do is reduce that to the fewest number of steps, fewest number of touch points for the owner, so it's easy to move. Now, I know here at my house, Virgin do a better deal than Sky, but I'm not going to move because the deal just isn't good enough. It's too much hassle. They're going to come and run wires around the house, and I know it will go wrong. But I haven't done it just because it's not good enough, the difference between what I've got to what I'm getting. So actually that compelling story about what they're going to get, how are you going to exactly solve their individual problem? That's the key. You've got to work your solutions around their problem, and they'll love you for it. And when you've got time, you can do that. And then obviously then you've got the challenges of, like any business, when it starts really well, then you need to build the resource and your team up really quickly because they're used to dealing with the primary person, and then it becomes watered down, and then you can end up with churn. So that's the, getting those first 10 or 15 or 20, that's the way I would go about it, is existing dissatisfied. Because then basically what you're doing is taking over an existing tenancy. You don't need to worry about the advertising, the right moves and what have you. You can build a brilliant relationship with that resident. So then you've got an opportunity there when they move on, maybe they become a buyer, maybe they rent again via you. So then I see as when you get a new owner, a new landlord, you've actually got 3 options there, because you've got the property. So you've got work on that property and improvement over time. You've got the resident who is going to move at some stage. Then you've got the owner. So it's not just one opportunity, you've created 3. It's how you go about squeezing the lemon, let's say, over those 3 opportunities. And then so it goes on. You create your spider's web that way.
Fantastic. Cool. There's so many things there to unpick. So again, just some comments have come in. Your friend from York, Ashley, Mir, hello both, loving the content. Good to see you, Spence. Luke Sinclair just says pick up a phone. Adam Ray, hi Jen, hi both, great insight. Dawn Clark Golden, drive that dissatisfaction, all right for you to sell, say, and pain point. Michelle, showing education to your landlords and potential landlords. Laura, great advice. Luke, love that, squeezing that lemon, create lemon moments. So again, you talked about there is a lot of people dissatisfied, and I think I read a survey that Paul Champolino pulled out in Landlord Action that I think over 46% of landlords don't actually use an agent, full stop, to manage their property. So how can I get that message out there? Again, I'm coming at it as I'm new. How can I get that message out there to find these dissatisfied landlords? Is there something that works better than others? I really am picking your brain. Sorry, these are all the questions coming in. I'm blaming the audience.
I don't think there's a one size that fits all there. Sliding doors, that you've got to make sure that your story is compelling, and then you've got to do exactly what you said you're going to do to the T. And ultimately what happens out there in the industry is there's so many people promising things that they don't deliver, and then the industry has a negative rap, doesn't we? We get told off regularly in the press. Dinner parties, everyone's got a story about a bad builder, a bad agent, or whatever it might be. And I think if you're just true to your values, then that is the best way. It's very easy. If you look at what's a value of most agents, they'll say, we're trustworthy, we've got integrity. But how do you show that? They're just empty words. It's blah blah blah. Like, we can all put that up on the wall. Yeah, what are our values? We can say the words, we know what they mean, but what is it? How is that a reflection of us and the team? And that's what the consumer needs to understand. And I think videography being very personalized. There was Sam Ashton. I watched a webinar. I can't remember if it was beginning of this week or end of last week, and she came up with a lovely idea that her team do is post evaluation. They send a very quick 60 to 90 second video from the valuer, just giving a quick synopsis of what they went through, what the valuation, what the next steps are. So it becomes really granular, so personalized. And I think you can just try and look at everyone's garden, all these agents out there, and that so many are doing brilliant things, and work out what plants you can use and grow in your own garden to make the best possible business that you can for you, based around how much time you want to spend in the business. Because some people want to work part-time. I'm not used to that. I haven't gone into it that way. But actually, as time goes on, I do want to work less in terms of my mind being switched on, being in the office. But when I'm walking, going for a 2-hour walk with Stephen, hopefully in a couple of weeks' time, that is where the thinking time happens. When you're sharing ideas. We were lucky enough to have, Assad came in with Charlie the other day, and we spoke for, 2-3 hours, and it went like that. And everyone got something out of that. And it was like fascinating that, we were talking about different things, but we improved our business off the back of that conversation. And hopefully other people, if we start really collaborating and sharing ideas, but I don't think you can have a situation where this is exactly what you need to do to go and get more landlords, because it's so where geographically you're based, what your story is, how your business works, the culture, the values, etc., etc. I just think don't make sure that whatever you do is different. You need to show that what's your competitive advantage. Don't be vanilla. Another person through Agents Together, I had a conversation with, set up a business up in York. And I said, why did you set up the business? And she gave me this 5-minute beautiful story about coming over from Ireland and the reason why she set it up and all the rest of it. I said, well, I can't see any of that online. Just transpose that 5 minutes into your website and your business will fly. And, since then, a few things have changed, and there's valuations that are coming in and all the rest of it. And it's not off the back of what I've done. It's off the back of what they've done. Just remember why you started doing what you're doing. I think be on it, not in it. Occasionally, you have to, take a step back. And I think sometimes we're in this hamster wheel. We're so busy. We need to do this. We need to do that. Make sure the team's okay. Go back to every client. Well, actually, unless you're learning and taking stock at least every week, your business is going backwards, because there's so much to learn and take in right now. And to deploy the things that work for you as an individual and your business. Don't look, they've got that shiny thing, we need to have it. Because it doesn't. I don't think that works. We made that mistake so many times, and I've got this, like, why have I got this? I don't even know what this is, because someone else had it, that envy piece. And actually, the beauty of this year is I think lots of agents have looked at things that are unnecessary and stripped that stuff right back. Only use the stuff that you need and use it brilliantly well. If that answers the question.
It does. I mean, look, the stuff that you're sharing is incredible. So thank you. Let's come back to squeezing some lemons then. Okay.
One of my favorite pastimes.
Because I just love what you said about actually thinking about what that potential one let can give you. So I know that I think it's this year that you've set up a maintenance department. It may be last year. You may have been doing it for a while. Yeah. But actually, what made you go down that route of having your own maintenance department? And you talked about, squeezing the lemon. All of a sudden, you're getting the refurbishments as well, and other work. So that's obviously made a big difference to your business, and you can see it as a growth area as well. So,
100%.
So for, I think we've gone down the route of hopefully we've helped new agents today, starting them. So let's go down the other route now. So we've got some existing letting agents here. They've got businesses. There's opportunities that they've already got. I mean, I love what you think. I would come back to the maintenance where you said, actually, well, let's solve the individual problems. We're going to let the property. The residents, we can help them as well. Notice I didn't call them tenants.
Good man.
On fully managed. I'm not swearing today, so I'm not even going to say sorry. And you've also talked about the owner, and actually the owner of the opportunities are maybe you can get some equity out and they can buy another property. Maybe that they're in their own home and they need to sell their own home and need to move. So there are so many opportunities there. for people. And I think people just see it very short-termism, that actually this is it, this is just a let and that's it. And it's looking at that bigger picture to say, actually, well, there's most probably 5 or 6 lemons there that we can squeeze. Makes a big difference.
So maintenance has been running for just over a decade now. Refurbishment.
I was close.
Refurbishment about 2 years. So maybe that's, I think, the conversation, Stephen, that we've had.
Yeah.
The first and primary reason we set up maintenance is because we lost control of our management department. It got to a point where we were reliant on third-party contractors who were not delivering impeccable customer service. They weren't on time. They weren't doing the job we wanted them to do. They weren't leaving as if they'd never been there. So a 4-person team was born. That didn't work because we got the wrong people. But what we did do is we undercut what the owners were previously paying. So onboarding the business became actually quite an easy win because, hey guys, you need to do this stuff and we're going to charge you less for it. The reason why we're doing this is because we wanted to get control back of the management portfolio. That was the prerequisite back then. And as long as it sort of washed its face, we wanted to deliver impeccable customer service. So the team we've got now are definitely the right team. And they are customer service operatives who are gas engineers, who are decorators, who are flat preparation team, et cetera, et cetera. And I think for me, what's happened and sort of evolved is when someone moves into a property, if that transaction is over and they renew for 3 or 4 years, you sort of alienated that opportunity. That you're not, you might have a touch point on renewal potentially, but by that point, normally what happens is with those owners is they meander off to their own contractors. Oh, don't worry, we've got this. We'll protect the deposit. We don't really need you anymore. And actually, if you help the owner out at the start of the tenancy and explain, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a maintenance roadmap. So, anyone really can deal with a reactive maintenance issue. Hey, my washing machine's gone. My boiler's not working. It's pretty basic stuff. You've got a good team of contractors. You solve the problem. They raise the invoice. You put it on the statement. You pat yourself on the back. That is repetitive red. That's entry level. It's conveyor belt management as far as I'm concerned. So where the magic happens is if I'm saying to you, hey, Stephen, what we're going to do for you is we're going to look at a maintenance roadmap. So you know exactly what we're going to look at over the next 2, 3, 5 years, depending on how long at that stage you're telling us you're going to hold the property for. So we're going to look at the shower room in 2023. And then we're going to do the kitchen potentially in 2024. And what we can do is we can turn these jobs round during active renewals if the tenants are on holiday, if we're ever allowed to go on holiday again. But, you get my point. And what happens there is we have brilliant relationship with the resident. So when they move on, when they become a buyer or they want to rent somewhere else or they come back in future as an owner, we are entrenched with them. We have a great relationship with them. And then with the owner, from the owner's perspective, people are time poor. So as long as you deliver what you say you're going to deliver with a fair price and a good job, like a good finish to the product, they're happy and they'll tell their friends. And slowly but surely the business builds. And yesterday I had a conversation with an owner. He's got 6 managed flats and 3 of them we're a bit unsure of because the tenants have been in there for quite a long time. This group of occupants, and we've decided that next Wednesday, me and a colleague and a contractor are going to go to the properties and come up with a maintenance roadmap for 2021. So off the back of that conversation, we've got 3 opportunities there on existing tenancies, I should say, forgive me. And also he wants to buy another buy to let. So we've got an active buy to let where we've got an owner who's looking to sell that can just easily be flipped, plug and play, and he's made an offer on that property this morning. Really? So the 6 becomes 7. He's completely convinced and happy with us in terms of our management. There's no hard sale there at all. The sales team hopefully will get a fee out of it, all being well. And so you move on, and you just, this spider's web, you know, in terms of, you know, seeking that opportunity piece. Last week we contacted our rent collection owners, which make up just shy of 20% of our portfolio. And so far we have got, from Friday that went out, and we've got 13 opportunities from owners who now want us to move over from rent collection to fully managed. Now, we know the property, there are residents in there, we know the owner, we know the properties are in good order. All of those owners 12 months ago said, we don't want property management, not for us, we don't want it. But something in their lives, something in their personal life has changed. They're too busy, they don't want to do it, maybe financially things are a bit better. You know, we've given people advice during the year to really look at their lender to make sure they can get their, you know, mortgage payments down throughout the year, so there's more meat on the bone, so to speak. And that you need a rent collection owner is not always a rent collection owner, and any owner. When are you thinking of selling your property? Well, if you've got 50% of your owners thinking to sell in the next 2 to 3 years, you've got a bit of a problem on your hands. What are you going to do? Like, do you convince them to stay? Why are you selling? What are you going to do with those proceeds? How are you going to go about convincing an owner that the best thing for them to do is actually retain and buy another one? Because if you make their route to entry simple, so they've only got to make some basic decisions and they've got experience of past success, they'll go again. They'll go again. But unless you speak to them and they trust you, they're not going to. They're just going to go, you know, they're going to make decisions without you knowing what's going on. So it's that regular contact points as well.
Can I take it back right to the beginning then? So I just took you to, I'm renting out a property in Ealing. I want you to come round. And I mean, look, I love the maintenance roadmap. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I think it's a differentiator. When you're on the market appraisal, you're talking about these things, presumably. You're having conversations, you know, what's more important to you? Do you want income or do you want capital appreciation? You know, what's your...
They all say both, by the way.
What's your long-term plan? You know, are you looking at keeping it for 10 years?
That's the key question. That's the killer question. Because if you walk into a vow and you start talking about yourself and the agent, and we've got 500 years experience between us, no one cares. No one cares. You know, they've done their due diligence. They've done some sort of research on you online. There's a reason why you're there in the room. And actually, if you don't get it, you've mucked up, because you're almost at the finishing line. The key question you have to ask is, what is your plan for this property? How long are you looking to retain it? Because if you say to me, Stephen says 1 year, it's pointless me going up, having a conversation with you about maintenance roadmap, because you want to get the property battle ready to rent it for a year. Yes, I'm going to have a conversation with you about why is it only a year, and see if we can do something about that to change your mind, to improve your position. If it's 3 years, it's a certain conversation. If it's 5 years, it's a certain conversation. If it's 10 years, it's a completely different conversation. So that has to be the first question, or one of the first questions that you ask is, you know, what type of investment is this for you? Pause, and they will just let them carry on talking. Within that first 2 minutes of you being on the valve, they'll give you the hook. And once you've got the hook, you can wrap your solution around the hook, and you'll win the instruction, and you'll win the business in terms of the maintenance. You know, we on evaluation with a fuse board, you know, now obviously all the regulations have changed. This has been going on for 18 months. We take a picture of the fuse board while on evaluation, we send it to the electrician, a visual. What do you think of this fuse board? So the owner straight away starts building a picture. Hold on, these guys know what they're doing. It's instant information. And we've got a link on our website, which I think everyone should have, about, you know, before and afters on refurbs, which we send as a link through actually before the valuation, just saying, hey, look, we can process this if you want. And obviously, if the owner is leaving that property and buying locally, or even somewhere in London for us, then we offer our refurbishment services to them on their next property. And with residential sales, this is, we had a great team meeting a month or so ago with a Resi team. And what we're doing with maintenance is we're doing a pre, during, and post maintenance option. So everyone who sold in the past through or purchased through Paramount, hey, if you're looking to sell again, would you like to know what it's worth and what it's worth with certain works being done? During, if a property is sticking, why is it sticking? Get the feedback from the buyers and actually work around a solution around then, if it's going to be the poor kitchen or garden works, or could be just a redeck or whatever. And then post is, hey, Stephen, you bought that 1-bedroom flat. You were really talking about the new kitchen you wanted to see. We've taken the liberty of mocking up 3 new kitchen styles, one, super flashy, one shaker, and one grey finish. As the day after you complete, bang, just so you know, there's those 3 options for you. Let us know if you need any help with that. And that's the way it's got to go. It's not just about one transaction. It's, that's just the start of it. That's where that's the bit that gets my juices flowing. As soon as that deal's happened, it's like, right, what next? Where can we go with this? Like, what success story can we create for the owner or the resident next? What's it going to look like for them? And the only way you can do that is by asking great questions and listening and acting on what you hear.
You shocked me. I'm in silent.
You've gone to sleep, Stephen.
I haven't gone to sleep. You know what? You got my mind thinking. You're sharing so many things. If I'm a letting agent and I'm listening to this, I mean, there is so much gold that you're giving people. The maintenance roadmap. Take a picture of a fuse board and send it to a contractor. I mean, that's gold. How many people? That's the first time I've heard it. And again, it's just these little marginal gains that make you stand out. And people were talking about, it's very hard to get fees and people to pay me what I deserve. We're actually straight away, you're offering value. And say, well, hold on a second. I may have had 3 or 4 other agents around and not one of them have done that. Hold on, there's something here. Now, I can understand why, the investment in their services is 16% managed or whatever. I mean, and again, what's really interesting is these are simple things,
It's on WhatsApp. It's literally on WhatsApp. Bang, respond. There you go. You're all good. Or you might need a new fuse board. For example, it could be anything. Having these contractors ready to respond really fast. And we don't tell them, hey, we've got a valuation. We just, they're ready to go. They know that that's an opportunity for them as well. So
if I was thinking of starting a maintenance department or refurbishment department, is there a set, I need to have X amount of properties to do that for it to work? Or actually, I've got a whole, to be perfectly honest, for some of the agents on here, hold on, you've got all these properties that you've sold. So you've got ready-made market there. You've got all these properties that are let. Why not have these conversations with people? So
it doesn't necessarily just be on your rental portfolio at all. Why just create that small market? And guess what? One thing we are great at is if we have a good experience, we'll share that great experience. So there's a very quick story. We had a fire door that needed to be put in a 1930s purpose-built block. And the guys did a great job and kept it immaculate and all the rest of it. We got all 12 doors on the floor, all different owners, all of them. And guess what? It's not just the doors. Now we're like, hey, if you want a valuation, have you thinking about rentals? So we've got 12 opportunities straight away. So that the sign on the back of a van, I think about it all the time. How's my driving? Yeah. Every single person at Paramount is thinking about, how's my driving? How's my driving? What am I doing today that's going to influence what's going to happen tomorrow? So if I'm driving well, within the speed limit, doing a great job, people are going to come back. And on the maintenance question, it's quite simple. You've got to look at the numbers and work backwards. So if you've got And it might not be that you employ someone directly straight away, but if the obvious is the gas safe engineer, there's boiler repairs, there's gas safety certificates, Legionnaire's risk assessment. If you go that way, obviously smoke alarms, COs, whatever you decide to put in. You can train someone to do EPCs as well, which is we've got LRAs, Legionnaire's risk assessment, and EPCs. The teams can do those. So if you are turning over, you're paying out 50,000 a year, let's say, to your gas safe engineer, and that's all sent out, that's third-party contractors. Is there some value in employing someone with a van at that level? Or maybe it would need to be 75 to work, or maybe it would need to be 100,000 to work. But you need to work backwards from, geographically where you are, and if the numbers work out. So for us, when we started the business, if I started maintenance, and this is much easier for me, I'd start with 4 people. I'd have a gas safe engineer, because that's going to come up. You want a well-versed handyman, and when just handyman who can do part P electrics and bits and pieces, someone who can do decorating. And for us, the flat preparation team is key. So they are not just the cleaners pre-tenancy move-in. They can do silicon grouting, some basic tiling. They can change a lino, and also they're the last people in. So what they do brilliantly well is they're on the phone the day before the move-in, reporting back, hey, there's a minor leak underneath the kitchen sink. The lock doesn't engage on the back door. So we get to those issues. So they're our eyes, the last possible check. And because they're going through the whole flat, it means we can get to that problem before the new resident moves in, to create, you want to create that wow moment, and then they'll remember you and they'll tell their friends to come and call you, and so it goes on. So 4 people would be for me. But if you work back from your numbers, it's that, and the numbers will work when you get to a certain size. And even if not at that certain size, maybe if you work in affiliation with a gas safe engineer, for example, and you can do dual branding on their van. And again, how's my driving? As long as that driver is driving around really well, makes sense. You're just constantly moving around in the area, and actually you'll get third-party work from that way. And Paramount Maintenance is a non-advertised company. It's not advertised anywhere other than a small link on our own, website. And it's almost as big as the lettings business. It's knocking on the door. When I started it, I said it would be bigger than lettings, and everyone said I was mad, but we're not far off. Not far off.
Amazing. So I know you've already done this, but there's going to be some people, it's been such a crazy year, they haven't even planned yet for 2021. So again, you've given a lot of help here for people. What else can they be doing to plan for 2021?
I think having absolute clarity on their purpose. There's been, certainly from my perspective, there's been a lot of fog this year. And hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I wouldn't have done all the things that I have done. I would have made different decisions, but we made the best decision at the time, knowing what we knew. Hopefully things will settle down, as we move into the second quarter of next year. And the health of the nation is ultimately much more important than any of this nonsense. But I would make sure that you set goals, professional and personal goals, achievable and almost not as well, because we just never, unless you push yourself, you just don't know quite how far you can go. And I love it when people say to me, "You never do that." That's just like fantastic. Tell me that again. Just tell me one more time. No, I can't do that, because that's music to my ears. And I might not get there, but I'm going to get a bit further if someone tells me that. And I think personally, I think you need to have the first quarter needs to be very structured, a sensible approach. You need to communicate with every single person on your database and know exactly where everyone's at. And people say, "Hey, I haven't got time for that. I'm too busy with incoming inquiries." The incoming inquiry is far less likely to turn into business than someone within your existing database. It's a fact. So why would you start there and not on your database? To me, that's just basic. I think making sure that your teams are healthy and well rested, and making sure that you set aside time for yourself to do stuff that you love with people that you love, and not, what I've been guilty of is this, I'm getting older now. I can't catch the cheese as it runs down that hill. I'm just not going to chase the cheese anymore. Just not going to do it. I'm just going to enjoy what I'm doing, carry on the collaboration piece, learn more from other people, and do everything I can, with the team at Paramount and with the, help and support of others to make the industry a better place for others to come and work in. And then once we have better minds, more creatives in the industry, the public's perception of the industry will improve. And we have to draw a line in the sand. We have to really want that to happen. And to do that, you can't be blinkered. You have to think laterally. You have to involve other people in that process.
Okay, well,
so I'm actually going to keep it quite simple, Stephen, actually. It's been 2 years. This year's been too complicated. So I'm going to simplify everything, go back to what I love, make sure every single person in the team is doing what they love, but with a good slice of having time off. And one thing we're doing at Paramount, again, spoken to Assad about this, is from start of 2021, anyone at Paramount can have holiday off whenever they want it. I don't need to know. Because people you just don't know. People know their own bodies and their own minds better than anyone else. And you have to give them that opportunity to go and recharge and do things that they want to do. And hopefully we will be able to travel a little bit at the back end of next year. And I think setting, nice targets for, the summer and autumn of 2021 is, something to look forward to, I think is really important. Hope is a massively important thing.
Lovely. One final thing, because I'm very conscious of time and you've been incredibly generous and you shared so much fantastic stuff. I just want to thank you, because I know you've got involved with Agents Together. You mentioned it a couple of times, and you mentioned you're mentoring somebody in Middlesbrough and York. And on behalf of everybody, I just wanted to say thank you for getting involved, and the other mentors as well. And I think as of last night, 193 people have been menteed, which is absolutely incredible. What made you get involved?
Well, I sort of looked from afar, to be honest, when it was first announced. I just thought, what a lovely concept. And then it wasn't until quite recently I saw on a Twitter feed that it was open for other people. You can put your hand up to be a mentor if you wish. So I did that straight away that evening, and sort of waited to get a response. And the ball was rolling, and met two fantastic people. And the main reason that I did it is I feel it's massively important to try and help people accelerate and power through the early parts of their career or challenge. And actually, if you can do that, because I've been stuck in the mud for years and years and years at times, and how am I going to get out of this? But actually, a bit of, you mentioned earlier, tough love, or a bit of lateral thinking, or a bit more excitement about why they're doing what they're doing. And I was nervous as hell, I've got to tell you. It was like my first exploration into online dating, and I've been married for a long time, and I was unsure whether it was going to be a good fit. But the people were very, very different, with different challenges and issues, and I think I learnt so much from those conversations. It's something that I'm definitely pledging a lot more time in 2021, and if other people can get involved in it, I think it would just be fantastic. And what was the amazing thing is how many people out there are brave enough to put their hand up and say, hey, I need some help here. I mean, how great is that? That's just fantastic. I love that. So to give a tiny bit back sounds a bit cliched, but it's exciting, it's new, and actually it's a bit of a challenge, because I feel a bit responsible for them now. I don't want to let them down. So far so good. Brilliant. Look,
Thank you for your time today. As always, you give
Our pleasure. Anytime.
amazing value, amazing content. No wonder I get so many people that say, can you get Spencer back on? Can you get Spencer back on? If it was me, I'd get Spencer perhaps on permanently, because I think he's exceptional, absolutely unbelievable. So Spencer, thanks very much for your time. Everybody, thank you so much for watching today. Tonight I've got a special edition. I've got David Greenspan at 8 o'clock. We're going to be talking North America. We're going to be talking about marketing. We're going to be talking about keep in touch strategies. Met David when we were at NAR in San Francisco. He's exceptional. So please join us at 8 o'clock tonight. That'd be great. Thanks very much for watching. Whether you're watching, listening on replay, that's great. Leave some comments, rate it, review it, share it, because there is gold out there. I'm going to nick one of Spencer's things, take a picture of a fuse board and send it to a contractor, and the maintenance roadmap. They're my two takeaways, and that's why I love doing it, because Spencer, without you sharing, the industry, as you say, needs to raise its standards, and what you're doing and what you're saying and collaborating and coming on here. Wow. That's all I can say. So thank you very much. Have a great one, everybody. And
likewise, thank you, everyone. Keep well.